and like the pain went from like a 10 to like a 35. Like it was so intense. What's up, guys, and welcome back to my channel. So I want to tell you my labor and delivery story. I wanted to make a vlog of the whole process and everything, but it got kind of crazy, so I didn't pick up the camera. And also I kind of wanted to just be in the moment and not be worrying about my camera or what everybody else is doing or anything like that. So I just kind of just didn't vlog. My dad took videos, but you know, I just whatever. Anyway, let's get into it. To start off with, this is kind of, there may be some areas that are TMI, so if you don't want to hear about guts and blood and all that, then probably this video isn't for you. But pregnancy, labor and delivery, it's kind of a messy thing, so there's that. Also, Amaya is currently, she's sleeping right now, but she may or may not wake up because she's fussy, because she's hungry, whatever. So if she does, ew, gross, and I have to stop, I apologize. But anyway, let me get started before she actually does wake up. So I went into labor on May 19th, 2018. So let me think. In my 36-week update, I had been talking about how I had contractions for weeks. I had felt like the baby had dropped. It felt like it was getting to be time for her to come. So that was 36 weeks. And then at 37 weeks, so I turned 37 weeks on May 18th, which is a Friday. And May 19th is when I started having contractions. And my contractions before had been kind of consistent, but they didn't like pick up. They didn't stay consistent. And then they didn't like increase intensity. So I wasn't like thinking that I was going into labor beforehand. But this day, it wasn't any different. I don't remember if I decided to go and do things that day and be walking around, or if I had decided to, stay home and chill out for the day. But either way, I went and got my daughter from school, and we came home and we had dinner. And throughout dinner, I was contracting, which was nothing new. They weren't any more or less intense than they had been. They weren't more or less consistent than they had been, so I didn't think anything of it. But then after dinner, I was kind of in like a weird state of mind. Like I was sitting on my couch contracting and I wasn't comfortable, so I got up and I kneeled on my couch and I was like looking out the window, and like I was looking out the window, but I wasn't like seeing what I was looking. Like, when you just kind of zone out. That's kind of what I was feeling. I had just been thinking, am I prepared? Am I ready to go into labor if this is it? I do remember that I had been using that week. I packed my hospital bag. I went shopping for clothes for the baby. I got, my room clean. I got laundry done. I had like been nesting and preparing to go into labor just in case. So I was just going over in my head, making sure everything was taken care of and done. And then I was like super uncomfortable. So I was like, let me stand up and just like walk around a little bit. So I stood up, and as I was walking to the kitchen, I felt like warm stuff dripping down my leg. And I was wearing leggings, but it was like going down my leg. And then I turned around and it was like gush all over the floor. And I remember thinking for a second, I was like, did I just pee myself? But I know I didn't, because like at dinner I had 3 big glasses of water, but I had just been to the bathroom like 3 times in the past 10 minutes. So I was like, my bladder has to be empty. I did not just pee myself. But I was like, Mom, I think my water just broke. And she was in the living room. She was sitting next to me on the couch just before I had gotten up. And she got up and looked and was like, yep, I think it did. I think your water broke. I started panicking. I was like, what do I do? Trying to convince her that I had peed myself. And she was like, I don't think so. I got a paper towel, nice white little paper towel, and wiped it up, and it wasn't yellow. Amaya doesn't like that. Nope, she's good. She might be waking up. We'll see. Anyway, I got this paper towel, wiped it up. It was not yellow. It didn't smell like pee. My pants didn't smell like pee. So I was like, okay, I'm going to accept the fact that my water just broke. What do we do now? And my mom was like, well, we have movie tickets. So we're going to go to the movies. If your contractions pick up, or you feel like we really need to go to the hospital, or the doctor says you need to come in right now, then text me 2 times and I'll look at my phone and leave the theater and call you. And I was like, okay, well, let me just hope that I don't have this baby in my room. So she and my dad went to the movies. I took Naomi upstairs and I put her in the bathtub. And I just remember I was sitting on my birthing ball because it was like too uncomfortable for me to like lean over the bathtub with her. So I was sitting on my birthing ball and I called the doctor. She said, you know, if your water did break, we need to admit you. So come on in, we'll check and make sure that it's broken. And if it is, we'll go from there. So I hung up the phone and I just remember I was like in this zoned out state still. Had her in the bathtub, but I was like not there. Like I was going through the motions of giving her a bath and getting her lotion on and her pajamas on and everything, but I was not with it in my head. And I feel really bad because that was my last time giving her a bath, just her and I. Like that was our last time, just us together. But I like was not paying attention. I was like thinking, is this it? Is this am I gonna be sent home? What if I look dumb for coming in? Like this is the third time I've come in because I had preterm labor 2 times. And I was just like not thinking about giving her a bath. But I did text my mom 2 times and she didn't answer me. So I called her and I was like, the doctor said I need to come in right now. And she's like, first of all, I didn't get your text messages. And second of all, we don't have to go right now unless you like feel like you need to push right now. Because she's had 4 kids. I've had Naomi. Like we know that this is not like you sneeze and the baby comes out kind of process. Like it takes hours and hours. So she wasn't worried that I was going to go into labor like immediately. So they stayed at the movies. I got Naomi into her bed and then I started packing my bags. And I literally took everything out of my hospital bag and laid it out on my bed, made sure that I had everything, put it all back in. I put the car seat and the blankets and my hospital bag and the diaper bag and everything by the stairs to go downstairs to get in the car whenever my parents got home. And then I sat there on the birthing ball, and I got super emotional. I was like, is this it? Like, I wish I could call Amaya's dad and have him be there for me. I wish I had like a friend that I could call and have them come get me or something. I just remember I felt like so alone. I was like, Naomi's in her bed sleeping. She doesn't know what's going on. She literally is laughing because she thinks I just sat there and peed myself. My parents are at the movies. Like Amaya's dad's not involved. I didn't really have very many friends around me through this pregnancy. So I was like, I felt alone. And then I felt scared. I was like, I'm going to have another baby and like everything is going to change. But then my parents came home. It was about, I'd say 10:30 or so when they got home. So my water broke at 6:45 p.m. and they got home around 10:30. Then we went straight from there to the hospital. And when we got to the hospital, first a nurse took me back to the triage rooms and she said, you know, here's a gown and everything, put this on, we'll get you hooked up to the monitors and make sure that your water has actually broken. And I started to get undressed and then another nurse came in and was like, wait, is it like dripping out of you right now? Sorry, TMI, but she's like, is it like dripping out, like your water's leaking? And I was like, yeah, I had to put on a maxi pad so that I wasn't like dripping all over the car. And I was like sitting on a towel in the car. And she was like, okay, well, here's this paper. And it's like a pH paper pretty much. She was like, if you want to just like stick it down there for a second and then we'll check it and see if your water has broken because it changes colors once it touches amniotic fluid. So I did that and the paper turned, as soon as I like showed it to her, it turned from brown to blue. Like it was blue. And she was like, yep, your water has broken. Let's just go ahead and admit you. We don't need to put you in triage. And I was like, okay. So we went straight to the room. I got my IV put in like right away. I changed into my nice little gown that I had ordered online and I was getting situated in bed. My mom called all the family that needed to come. She had my sister come over and be with Naomi and sleep there at our house so my dad could come and be at the hospital with me. So by the time I was admitted and like settled in my bed, it was about midnight, maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. And then the nurse came in and said, we called your doctor. She wants us to start you on Pitocin because I was not having contractions. Now, I don't know if maybe, like I said, I was not in my brain and I wasn't paying attention or what, but I was not having contractions, which was really weird. So I was having contractions up until my water broke, then it broke, and then my contractions stopped, which is really weird. So she told me the doctor wanted me to start on Pitocin, so she started it right away. It started kind of at a low dose, and then she came in every hour to turn it up a little bit. So she told us, oh, get some rest, but we're in the hospital, and they had to come in every hour to turn up my Pitocin. So I didn't get much rest. My dad was laying on like the pull-out couch, and he's like 6'3" or 6'6". The pull-out couch is like 5'9", so he was not comfortable. But my mom, she stayed up in this little rocking chair all night playing her little Candy Crush. I just remember looking over. Every time I woke up, I looked over at her in the chair, and she was just rocking, playing her little game on her little phone. And she did not move the whole night. Didn't go to sleep. She is my rock. I tell you what, she would get me water when I needed it. She was like, calling the nurses when I needed it. She unhooked my IV and everything from the wall every time I had to go to the bathroom. She was amazing. But anyway, we tried to get rest. It didn't really happen, but we tried. Then about 7 o'clock in the morning, my doctor came back in. And So 7 o'clock in the morning, my doctor came back in, and throughout the night, AMAYA had kind of been not staying on the monitors. So they have like a contraction monitor on you, and then a monitor that picks up the baby's heartbeat, so they can measure that. Why am I stuttering so much? So they had that, and every time they put the heartbeat monitor on her, she would move. So they would have to come in and get her heartbeat back on the monitor, and then, so they were coming in every like 5 minutes to check her. So my doctor came in and was like, hey, how you doing? You're progressing pretty well. She checked me, and I was like at 4 centimeters, 4 centimeters dilated. And then she said, we can't really get the heartbeat on the baby to stay consistent, so we're going to try and put in an internal fetal monitor. And what this is, it's like a cord, and it goes on top of the baby's head. So they put it inside you, and it goes on their head. And it's just like, it screws in. It's like a little corkscrew needle, and it just goes on like the first layer of skin. It's like if you were to take a clothespin or like a needle or something and put it through like the first teeny little layer on your finger where you can like still see it, and it's like clear. It doesn't hurt. But yeah, anyway, that's what they did. They were going to put the monitor on her head. So the doctor went out to get the supplies for that, came back in, and then TMI warning, when she went to put it in, my water broke like all the way. So I don't know if, I had like a high leak or something, or it was just like a little bit of leakage or something, whatever. But when she went to put in this monitor, it was like freaking a flood all over the bed. Like, so my water, if it hadn't broken before, it was definitely broken now. So she put the monitor in, and they also put an internal contraction monitor in, and everything was good. And so then, because my water had just broken like all the way, my contractions kind of started to pick up a little bit. And so I was telling the nurse, I'm feeling a little bit more pain, but I don't want to get my epidural yet. And she was telling me, you should probably get it soon. We don't want to wait too long. But I was being hard-headed. I was like, I don't want to get the epidural, because I remember with Naomi, I was tied to that bed for the full 16 hours that I was in labor. And I hated it. I didn't get to go in the tub. I didn't get to take a shower. I didn't get to go on the birthing ball or walk around or try and cope with my contractions other than sitting in the bed. And I didn't want to do that. And because they just put the monitors inside, they told me I could sit on a ball, I could walk around, I could do whatever, because she was being monitored. So I wanted to try and do that, but I'd say 15 minutes later, I called the nurse and I was like, hey girl, you were right. I'm going to go ahead and need that epidural. So they came in and did my epidural. It did not hurt at all. It didn't even feel like, they say the needle feels like a bee sting. Not even close. It did not feel like anything. I don't know if that's because I was having contractions or what, but it did not hurt. So they did my epidural, and everything went fine. It went smoothly. And then my aunt and uncle came. They came and brought food for my parents and everything. I got to take a little bit of a nap. I got some rest. And then it gets kind of fuzzy after this. I don't exactly remember, but if I'm remembering correctly, after they gave me the epidural, my nurse came in to check me again, and I was about 7 centimeters. But she started to freak out. So my legs were numb. I could not move. I had this peanut ball. They call it the peanut ball. It was between, they put it between your knees, and it's literally like an exercise ball, but it's in the shape of a peanut. and they put it between your knees so that your hips are open and the baby's head can come down further. So I had that between my legs, and I was on my right side. And the nurse came in and checked my dilation, and she was like, hold on a second. Picked up the phone, was like, hey, can we have another nurse in here to help me turn a patient? Okay, bye. And then I was like, great. I am that patient. I am the elephant lady that the nurse needs more people to help turn in bed. And I'm huge, whatever. Because I couldn't feel my legs or like the bottom half of my body. I couldn't really roll over in bed by myself. It was really hard. So anyway, she put like an oxygen mask on me right away. And then like 5 nurses came in. And I was like, great. Now there's like 5 of them. I'm going on a diet as soon as I get out of this hospital. Because I'm huge. That's how big I am. They need 5 of them to turn me. They started buzzing around. Someone took the ball from me. Someone was like checking my blood pressure. They were checking all my vitals. They were checking everything. And I was like, what's going on? Like, she didn't really say anything. And then all of a sudden she was like, yeah, let's page the doctor. So she paged the doctor and then turned to me and was like, I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was because you were on your right side or what, but your blood pressure dropped and the baby's heart rate dropped really fast and suddenly. So we just want to make sure that everything's okay. I'm telling your doctor we're going to turn you on to the other side. And I was like, okay, hope everything's okay. So the doctor came in and she was like, well, this could be that the baby's just getting ready to come. So let me check her dilation. And literally the nurse had just checked me like 5 or 6 minutes before and I was at a 7. Then my doctor checked me and I was at a 9. So in 5 minutes, I went from a 7 to a 9. And so my doctor was like, yeah, that was just the baby telling us that she's ready to come out. She is ready to be here. So I'm going to go get my gown and everything. You guys just labor in here. Grace, you let us know when you're ready to push. And I was like, okay, sounds good. So everybody left except for my one nurse, which I loved her so much. I seriously wish I could remember her name. I do remember her name, but I don't know if I'm like allowed to say it or whatever. But anyway. She was awesome. She was like checking if I'm comfortable, making sure I was okay. And I started to feel like the pressure. So anybody who has given birth, they probably know what I'm talking about, the pressure. If you think about it, your baby has to come out of your birth canal and their head is pushing on your tailbone because your tailbone is like in the way. So that pressure, with every contraction, her head was like pushing on my tailbone and it hurts. It hurts so bad, even with an epidural. And I remember this happening with Naomi. And it also started happening with Amaya. And at first, it was pretty mild. Like, I could breathe through it. I was okay. But then it started to get really intense. And my nurse could tell that I was in pain. I didn't think there was anything they could do about it. And even she said, you know, the epidural takes away the pain of contractions, but not the pressure. So she was like, I'll get the anesthesiologist in here to see if he can give you some medicine to help, but most likely it won't do anything. And I was like, whatever, I don't care, just I'm in pain. So he came in and again explained the whole that it doesn't take away the pressure, it takes away the contractions. But he gave me an extra dose anyway. And like at this point, my legs, like I could not feel them at all. Could not move them, couldn't wiggle my toes. I could not feel my legs. So then the pressure got so real. I had the oxygen mask on. I was trying to breathe through my contractions. The nurse came in and I was like, we gotta push, girl. She is coming out. So I told her I was ready to push. She paged the doctor and the doctor came in and said, all right, let's do some practice pushes. And okay, here's another TMI. So obviously you pull your legs back and the nurse and my aunt helped me hold my legs back and they say to push. And I started to push and I started to fart really bad. And I was like so embarrassed because there's nurse, my doctor, my aunt, my best friend, my mom, my dad, everybody's in there and I'm like farting. And I was so embarrassed. So I was trying to push, but also trying not to fart at the same time. So I wasn't pushing like fully because obviously you can't push something out and try and hold something in at the same time. It doesn't work. So I was like kind of pushing, but not. And my doctor was like, Grace, you gotta like really push. Like you have to push. That's how she's getting out. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I keep farting. I'm so sorry, everybody. And everybody was like, girl, you're giving birth. No one cares. You're in good company. Like, it's okay. It's all good. But I was really embarrassed. So I didn't push fully. And also, it was really hurting. Like, I could feel everything. This is like PTSD. Like, I feel, oh, let me just go ahead and, oh. Ugh, it hurts to have a baby. Anyway, I'm sorry. I don't want to scare anybody who hasn't had a baby yet, but that's the truth. You can't have a baby without it hurting. So I was pushing, not fully, but then the doctor was like, she said, Grace, you're not giving it your all, and I could tell. So we're going to let you labor a little bit until her head gets a little lower. When you're really ready to push, I'm going to come back, and you are just really going to push her out. And I was like, okay. But then I was like, wait, you're actually leaving? And like the pain went from like a 10 to like a 35. Like it was so intense. And so I was laying on my side. My mom, I had my oxygen mask. My mom was there. She was like helping me breathe through it and get through it. And I think they were probably gone for maybe 10 minutes, but it felt like 3 hours. And as soon as I saw that nurse's face come back in my room to check on me, I was like, we gotta push. Like, we're doing this right now. She's coming out. And the nurse was like, okay. Then the doctor came in and I did another practice push. And let me tell you, I farted everywhere and I did not even care. And then after that one push, she was like, we're going to break the bed down and we're going to do this. She started gowning up, putting on her little booties, all that good stuff. But I was in so much pain. I do not remember that with Naomi, but it hurt all the way through. It hurt when I was pushing. It hurt when I was contracting. It hurt when I stopped pushing. And not to mention, I couldn't breathe very well. And I don't know if that's because I have asthma or what. But they usually, like, they have you push 3 sets of 10. So they say, okay, pull your legs back, take a deep breath, and push. 2, 3, and they count to 10. Then they say, let it out, go again. And then you're supposed to push for 10 more seconds. And they do that 3 times for each contraction. And I did about 2, maybe like 1.5, and then I was done. I could not push anymore. I could not breathe, and it hurt like, oh my gosh, I can't even explain the pain. It hurt so bad. It hurt. And I was like screaming. I was like, I can't do it. I'm a mom, like just can you just pull her out of there? Like, I don't want to push. I can't do this. My doctor was like, listen, you can, because I've seen you do it before, because she helped me. She delivered Naomi. And she was like, you can't say I can't. We're going to get her out. And literally, I think I pushed like 5 times and she was out. 10 minutes of pushing maybe. And she was born. So Amaya Cadence was born at 3:57 p.m. She was 6 pounds, 11 ounces. And when she came out, she first looked like Naomi. I was like, oh my gosh, she looks just like Naomi because of her cheeks. They were like big and swollen. Her face was so swollen. But then as her swelling went down, she does not look like Naomi at all. But yeah, so that was it. It was, I think, how many hours is that? From 6:45 p.m. is when my water broke, and 3:57 is when she was born. So how many, like 21 hours or something? But I only pushed for like 10 minutes. With Naomi, I pushed for like 30, 45 minutes. With her, it was like, she came right out. So yeah, that was my story. It was not, I didn't really have any complications. It was not crazy, exciting, but that's how she came, and she's here. I am loving her so much. I know this video is already long, so I'm gonna do a postpartum update and like a meet Amaya in a separate video. So I'll link that below, but thank you for watching, and I guess I will see you guys next time. Bye.